Hey guys, today I want to take a look at the first polls that have been released for the 2022 Senate races, and we have quite a few new polls for those races. I think they'll be very interesting to look at. You have Democrats doing unexpectedly better in many states across the country, but there are also some Democratic seats that are very vulnerable to possible strong Republicans that will be challenging those Democratic incumbents in some of those states on the 2022 Senate map. So before we get started, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. So make sure you join that if you have not. But taking a look at the Senate map here, you basically have 36 seats for the Democratic Party, 30 for the Republicans, and 34 seats that will be up for election in 2022. So I'm going to start off by filling in these solid states just so we can have a pretty, so we have a better understanding of what this map looks like. This is not by margin, this is just by whether or not these incumbents can win, and definitely in all of these blue states, there's really no doubt that these Democratic incumbents will be winning their re-elections. The Republicans here as well, you might see a contested race in Alaska, but it's going to go to a Republican nonetheless. They have a very long Republican voting history. They are shifting to the left, but it definitely will not be enough in 2022. And I will also include the state of Iowa on this list because Chuck Grassley has not announced that he will be retiring yet. I think that there is definitely still a chance that he does run again. Currently in the betting odds, he has a 50% chance of running again. So since he hasn't announced anything, I'm going to be assuming for right now that he does retire. But even if he doesn't, Iowa is almost definitely going to go to a Republican. So it really does not matter. Iowa is not going to be contested. The Democrat might do okay there. They might get within 5 to 4%, but nonetheless, it will still be a Republican state. If it's Chuck Grassley, it'll be over 20% for the Republicans. So this gives the GOP 44 and the Democrats 46. So the Democratic Party, I think, definitely does start off with a little bit of an advantage here. And on the map remaining, we have basically these swing states that will really decide the makeup of the U.S. Senate. So taking a look at the latest polls that we've gotten, and these are the polls from the state of Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, currently the incumbent is Republican Pat Toomey. He will be retiring in 2022. He's one of the many Republicans that are retiring. If you want to take a look at which states have retiring Republicans, this really does paint a very bad picture for them. In Ohio, Rob Portman; in North Carolina, Richard Burr; Roy Blunt of Missouri, as well as Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania; a possible retirement of Chuck Grassley in Iowa, as well as a possible retirement of Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. So really, almost every single Republican that's retiring is in a contested state. The only one that's not is Richard Shelby of Alabama, and that will go to another Republican. There's no way Democrat does win in Alabama. So all these other seats, you have retiring Republicans, and incumbents do typically do better. There are definitely some like Roy Blunt who do not do well when they're an incumbent, but the incumbency typically does give the party that currently holds a seat a pretty clear advantage over the challengers. So taking a look at the race in Pennsylvania first, currently John Fetterman is the front runner for the GOP nomination. As you can see, he has a 68% chance of winning. Conor Lamb is second, 24. Conor Lamb's chances rose after he announced his bid, so he will be running against Fetterman for the Democratic nomination here. As of right now, Fetterman, he is the lieutenant governor of the state, and he is currently polling very well against many other Republicans, and he is seen as the one that really has the highest chance of winning. I think that definitely he would be a stronger candidate than Conor Lamb. For the Republicans, Sean Parnell has taken the lead. He is now the front runner. Before this, it was Jeff Bartos, but that is no longer the case. Donald Trump Jr. is in there as well at 3 cents a share. But right now, Sean Parnell is the one with the highest chance, but his chances spiked at 71, and now they're going down again. So it's a very unstable market here, and definitely this race will continue to change. So I don't think that we should be expecting, who the candidate will be for a little while here. But I do think that Jeff Bartos, Sean Parnell, there's a very high chance that the winner out of the, for this nomination is between one of those two. So taking a look at the results from the past, you see 2018, Bob Casey won by 12%, very large margin. In 2016, this is Pat Toomey who ran for re-election. He is retiring now in 2022, but 6 years ago, he won his re-election by a little bit over 1%. So definitely this state does have a Democratic tilt. I think that a likely margin, that of 10, 11, or 10 to 8%, as you can see here, 8% against Parnell and 10% against Bartos for John Fetterman. Definitely, I think these are very strong numbers for the Democratic Party. So this would be their first flip. I think a likely margin is possible because of Bob Casey's margin, but he was running against a pretty weak Republican, and for John Fetterman, he is not an incumbent. So I think that may make this race a lean race, but for as of right now, the polling does show it's likely, and that's what I'm going to put this state as. The next thing I want to take a look at is the state of Arizona. There have been many polls released for Arizona where incumbent Mark Kelly is going to be running for re-election. He won his first election in 2020. He won the Senate special election against Martha McSally, who was the incumbent senator. He defeated a Republican incumbent in a state that had not voted for a Democrat on the presidential level since 1996. So definitely Mark Kelly's win here followed Kyrsten Sinema's win over Martha McSally 2 years prior. So they both won by around 2%. So definitely Mark Kelly's margin was a pretty strong one. And as of right now, he is very popular in the state, much more popular than Kyrsten Sinema, who's going to have a pretty hard time running for re-election. But in the state of Arizona right now, Mark Kelly leads by double digits against almost every single one of his potential opponents. And as of right now, there's really no market on this, nor is there a front runner, that much of a front runner seen in Arizona. So we'll see who the Republicans dominate. But as of right now, Mark Kelly is dominating this race. So we have another likely race for the Democratic Party as of right now, putting them up at 48 seats. Following this, we have the race in Missouri. So we have, these possible Republicans, these possible Democrats versus these two possible Republicans. So as of right now, in the race in the state of Missouri, Roy Blunt, 2016, he is retiring now in 2022. But in 2016, he defeated Jason Kander, who is a very strong candidate at the time. He defeated him by just a little bit under 3%. So it does make sense that he's retiring. He definitely was not popular in 2016, and nor do I think he would be more popular in 2022, as the state has gotten a little bit more blue since then. So 2016, Roy Blunt definitely a pretty weak margin. And taking a look at the betting odds right now, so for the Democrats, it really doesn't matter who it is as of this point, but for the Republican Party, Eric Greens, he's the former governor of the state. He had to resign due to sexual blackmail allegations, and he did resign as a result of that. So he did not go through a full investigation on that, but the Republican Party in the state said there was good reason to believe those allegations. So he did resign, and now he's running for the Senate. I think that he is probably still going to win unless something really bad does come out against him, but I think that the margin will not be as large for Eric Greens as it would be for Eric Schmidt. I think Eric Schmidt is the better candidate, but they do also have to win the GOP nomination, and among GOP voters, the actual Republican Party, Eric Greens is the stronger of the two. So definitely as of right now, you have other candidates, but they really stand not too much of a chance against those top two in the polls right now. For Eric Greens, they are pretty weak, +4, +7 in the state of Missouri. Keep in mind, Trump won the state by 16% in 2020 against Joe Biden. So as of right now, Missouri is in the lean column because I am assuming Eric Greens is the nominee, as he is currently the clear front runner in that race in the state of Missouri. So this puts the Democrats still at 48, and the Republicans are now at 45 seats, just according to the latest polls that we've seen. This poll right here is between Jamie Harris and Lindsey Graham. This is for the 2020 election, so ignore this poll right here. But on top of that, we have Tom Nelson versus Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. Now, what's interesting is Tom Nelson is not one of the top 3 candidates. I believe he's number 4 in the state of Wisconsin right now. Ron Johnson is the incumbent. There's a chance that he does retire. He said he was going to retire in 2022 when he ran for re-election in 2016, but since then he has changed his mind, and he has said, even though now that there's a higher chance that he probably will not be running for re-election, but he has said that he will hold off on making an announcement for right now. So Ron Johnson, he's someone that the Republicans, I think, would want to have run because he would do much better against, the Democratic Party than many other potential Republicans in the state. But as of right now, for the Democrats, the front runner is Sarah Godlewski for the Democratic nomination there. Ron Johnson can see won by 3.4% against Russ Feingold in 2016. 2010, he won his first election against the same person who was the incumbent at the time. He won by 4.8%. So Ron Johnson did win by a smaller margin in 2016. And polling right now, this one poll is not the best news for him. However, it's just one poll against someone that really doesn't have the highest chance of winning. However, it does show the Democratic Party with an edge in Wisconsin right now. So I'm going to categorize that as a lean blue state on our electoral map right now. So this puts the Democrats up at 49 and the Republicans at 45. And this is really where the Democrats' luck end. The next couple of states will not be too good for the Democratic Party. So next we have polls released in the state of Ohio so far. These are basically all of them. Ignore these polls at the bottom because Amy Acton has dropped out. She will not be the Democratic nominee. There's no way that's going to happen because, of course, she has dropped out from the race, is no longer contesting it against Tim Ryan. However, Amy Acton was leading and doing better than Tim Ryan. So for Tim Ryan, as of right now, I think that it'll definitely be a tough race for him. He is very well known in the state, and right now he's the only one with a chance at actually winning against a Republican. But that does not mean he is going to win at all. In 2016, Rob Portman, who is retiring, he won his re-election in 2016 by with 58% of the vote, won by over 20%. So 2016, Rob Portman won by a huge margin. However, 2018, Sherrod Brown, a Democrat, did win his re-election here against Jim Renacci, so it does show that Democrats can win in the state of Ohio, and they just did 2 years before this. However, the Republicans, again, they do have the edge in Ohio. Trump won this state by 8%, 8% both times, 2016 and 2020, so definitely this state does have, it does side more with the Republicans. As of right now, for the Democratic nominations, as you can see, nobody has over 2%, and Tim Ryan has an 86% chance of winning this race since Amy Acton dropped out. Even before that, he was the front runner for the Republican nomination. J.D. Vance is the current front runner. Jane Temkin, following him. So definitely this race is very, very close right now, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So any three of these candidates right now could be the potential nominee in the next couple of months. And then in 2022, in the state of Ohio, for the race in general, you see the Republicans have an 81% chance of winning, the Democrats at 20%. So definitely not very good numbers for the Democratic Party. However, I don't think they should be expecting too much. At the end of the day, it is still the state of Ohio, and no matter how popular Tim Ryan is or well known he is in the state, it will still, no matter what, be a very difficult race for him. He is resigning from the House, not resigning, but he will not be running for another term in 2022. So no matter what, he will no longer be a representative after that race. However, I think his chances of being in the Senate are definitely very, very minimal. So right now, Ohio does go in the lean column because Tim Ryan, he's polling okay, all right? For a Democrat in a state like Ohio, he is polling fine. But, whether or not he can win with these numbers, absolutely not. He's not going to win with these numbers. But his polling numbers right now, they are, I would say, very okay. But I don't think, it's anything for him to be too happy about because he is still definitely in a very bad position just coming into the race. Next, we have some polls out of the state of Georgia. Raphael Warnock, he won his first election in Georgia in 2020, or 2021, really, with the runoff on January 5th, but he defeated incumbent Kelly Loeffler, won 51.4% of the vote in that runoff, and became the first Democratic senator from Georgia in a decade. So in 2022, this will definitely be one of the closest watch races, because if Democrats can hold on to it, they will hold on to their majority in the Senate with the vice presidency of Kamala Harris. But as of right now, Raphael Warnock does lead over Kelly Loeffler and Doug Collins. However, the problem for him is that both of them have dropped out, and currently the Republican frontrunner for this race is Herschel Walker, who is currently the only one leading over Raphael Warnock. I believe it's other polls showing, actually no, there isn't. There's only these polls that have been released. But as of right now, the Republicans are doing pretty well with Herschel Walker. He has a 36% chance of winning, which has, been a little bit of a drop. Kelvin King's chances have definitely been pretty good. He has risen up to 28% just today. Kelly Loeffler's are there, but she has no chance of winning this race again. And then David Perdue, Doug Collins both declined to run. There's no way any of the candidates do well. But really, it's between Herschel Walker, Kelvin King at this point. Herschel Walker is a former football player, played in the NFL. He has had mental issues in the past, and although he is leading over Raphael Warnock, I think that the more people, the more that people get to know him, the more involved in the campaign he gets, the more political he gets, because he hasn't been too political, but he's the one that Donald Trump does support. However, the more he gets into this race, there's definitely a very high possibility that his popularity just drops significantly, and, I think that this lead is only because people don't know him as well as they do know these other two candidates with Loeffler and Collins. So right now in the state of Georgia, it's 2% in favor of the GOP. So I will be putting that in the tilt column for the Republican Party, and this puts them up at 47 to 49 for the Democratic Party. And the final state on this map I want to take a look at is the state of New Hampshire. I think definitely one of the most interesting races will be in New Hampshire. So what you can see here is that Maggie Hassan, she is the incumbent Democrat. All right, so she is the incumbent in this race. She defeated Kelly Ayotte, who was the incumbent Republican in 2016, by 0.1%. She won it by less than, or by just a little bit over 1,000 votes in 2016. However, she was able to defeat a Republican incumbent in New Hampshire, which is not too political of a state. The state definitely can go pretty back and forth. If you saw it in the presidential races in 2020, Joe Biden won in New Hampshire by 7.4% was the margin for Biden in the state of New Hampshire. However, in 2016, Hillary Clinton only won New Hampshire by 0.37%. So this state can go pretty back and forth depending on who the candidates are. And this is a very bad sign for Maggie Hassan. So she does lead, by big margins against every other Democrat or every other Republican. Kelly Ayotte, who may be running, probably is not going to be running, but she may be trying to get her seat back, but who knows? She is down 5 points against Maggie Hassan. However, Chris Sununu, the current governor of New Hampshire, does lead. Yes, he is a Republican, and in 2020, he won his re-election with 65% of the vote. He won more votes than any other candidate in history in the state of New Hampshire. So definitely he won by a very strong margin. He did run against a weak Democrat, a very weak Democrat, though, in Dan Felds in New Hampshire. But in 2018, he won by 7 points, which is still very good for a Republican. 2016, he won by 2 points, but that was his first election. As you can see before this, Maggie Hassan was the incumbent, and so that's of course when she defeated Kelly Ayotte. So definitely Maggie Hassan, I think, will have a lot of trouble because she is not the strongest candidate. She's definitely weaker than Jeanne Shaheen. But what's interesting here is that Chris Sununu won his re-election in 2020. Governors are re-elected every 2 years in New Hampshire, but Chris Sununu won 65% of the vote on the same ballot where Democrat Jeanne Shaheen won 56%. So Jeanne Shaheen defeated Corky Messner in 2020. She won 56% of the vote. However, in the same state, Chris Sununu won 65.1% on the same ballot. So that definitely does show Chris Sununu is very strong in the state. And on top of that, I mean, this state is more Democratic than it is Republican. There are 2 Democrats right now in the Senate there. The governor is Republican. However, the state, at the end of the day, is more Democrat than it is Republican. And these polls right here showing Chris Sununu +6 as well as +2, I think is definitely very, very positive for the Republican Party. And taking a look at the betting odds right now for this race, the Democrats only have a 52% chance of winning, the GOP at 50%. Chris Sununu has not announced his candidacy. That's why it's so low. If Chris Sununu announces, I can see the chances of the Republicans going up to 60, 70% once Chris Sununu announces, and that will be devastating for the Democratic Party because I really do not see a way back. I really do not see a way they can win by any significant margin with Chris Sununu running against Maggie Hassan, or even win the race in general, because Chris Sununu is definitely a very, very strong candidate in the state, and the person that the Democrats really should be wishing to not run against them in. So this puts the Democrats up at 49, the Republicans at 48. I do think that Wisconsin is a little bit of a stretch, Georgia as well, for the Democrats and the Republicans in these 2 states. I do think that there's a higher chance that the Democrats do win in Georgia and lose in Wisconsin, but I do know that Democrats are definitely advantaged in the state of Nevada, where Catherine Cortez Masto is running for re-election for a second term. In Florida, this state definitely does have an advantage towards Marco Rubio, who may even win it by a likely margin like he did in 2016. But I think 2022 lean is a little bit more likely. Val Demings is running against him, and we'll also have a pretty interesting gubernatorial race there. Taking a look at the gubernatorial polls for the state of Florida for Ron DeSantis, who is right now the Republican in the Republican Party right now. He's the one that most people want to replace Donald Trump. But right now, as you can see, the Republicans in the state, Ron DeSantis doing very, very well against all his potential opponents. Val Demings, Nikki Fried, and Charlie Crist, that are all performing pretty badly against Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida. So I think that definitely Florida will be a pretty strong state for the Republicans in 2022. So I'm not going to move that into likely for Marco Rubio. And finally, in the state of North Carolina, I think it's a little bit more of a toss-up, like I would put Wisconsin and Georgia. However, I do think that with the Republican voting history in the state, the Republicans do have the slight advantage here. But, this is all just based off the polls for the states that I filled in, and these other 3 are just by my opinion as of right now, based on, what we're seeing, developing in those races. So thank you so much for watching this video. The Senate right now will be pretty tight, and I think that the Senate, no matter what, will be a pretty interesting race in 2022. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, link at the very top of the description below. We have a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure to join that if you have not. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Comment down below who you think would win the 2022 Senate elections and which candidates you're looking forward to seeing on the ballot. Like this video if you have not. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.